Hey, how we doing? Hello, everybody. It's so nice to all of you. So many in the chat already. Hello, hello, hello. How are we doing? Hope you've had a good day, or you're about to have a good day, or whatever. Welcome along, everyone. So, I'm just doing a very, very quick one. Welcome along to the Chips Tea Party. If this is the first time you joined us, it's gonna be no guest. It's just me and you. So we're gonna have a proper conversation around not just what I did earlier this week, which was interesting. Let's put it that way. Very, very interesting. We're going to have a little further conversation afterwards about, I think, just generally the power of the mind and maybe how susceptible we are and what your brain can do to you. There's so much we can dig into. So, hello, obviously, to my lovely mods, Diane, Tim, Lou, good evening. And then who else we've got? We've got Donna and Kaza, hello, and Sarah, Sadie and Ali, Catherine, Lawrence. I'm not going to be able to do everybody because there's just so many. Roger, good evening to you. And who else we got? Yvette, hello, and Nigel, hello, and Bean, hello, and Aileen, hello to you. Good evening. Oh my God, Kaz Scarlett, hello. I'm going to try and whiz through. Good evening to Steph and who else we got? Oh my God, there's so many people talking to each other. I'm so rubbish at this. Just whatever. There's a whole bunch of you. I hope you're good. I hope, like I say, and we're gonna dip into this. For those that didn't see it, on the Paranormal Monkey podcast a couple of weeks ago, I had the lovely Dr. Cal Cooper. Mainly because he was having a bit of a rant at a paranormal convention. And his rant was around the Estes method. And he was like, no, there is no such thing as the Estes method. It is the Ganzfeld experiment. That is all it is. And so we were talking a lot about the Ganzfeld. So this was the thumbnail I had from a couple of weeks ago with Cal Cooper. Lovely chap, extremely knowledgeable. And he obviously we were going into it and talking about the right conditions and the ethics involved and doing things the right way. And in it was obviously Cal has done the Ganzfeld experiment himself. There he is at a place called the University of Northampton in the UK. And so he kind of dropped in at the end that basically hit the person who's, I suppose, the lead at that department, the parapsychology department at the University of Northampton, is a chap called Professor Chris Roe, and he was looking for volunteers continually as part of a study that he is involved with and that what the university is involved with, where he needed people to undergo the Ganzfeld. And I was like, yeah, I'll do that. And I was like, should I? I'm a bit wary. I didn't quite know what to expect. And I thought, do you know what? Yeah, let's go for it. See what it is. I talk about these things, and I think actually it's a good idea not just to read about it or talk to experts, but to actually undergo it myself, just kind of get stuck in there. So that's what I did. And I went on Tuesday. So drove for a couple of hours. This is the University of Northampton. It's a beautiful campus, by the way. It was a very, very, very cold day. And didn't meet Cal Cooper. I thought we might I cut him off accidentally because we couldn't get into reception. So I was like, there was no sign of the Professor Chris. So, so I started to ring Cal going, and then Chris popped up because he, and I was like, I just cut Cal off, which I very apologize. I was like, oh God, I'm really sorry. Anyway, so this is the University of Northampton, and it's kind of not what you might expect. You might think a parapsychology department might be like really cool and really interesting. We met Chris Roe, really lovely, friendly guy. Just couldn't be more lovely and not academic like in the slightest. Just genuinely really a lovely chap. Very friendly. Happy to talk a lot about the paranormal. Happy to talk about the Ganzfeld, what the study was all about. So I'll go into that in a second. And led us to a very, very small black room which has been kind of noise insulated. It's not completely soundproof, but pretty noise insulated for the purposes of the Ganzfeld experiment. Thank you. Bless you. Thank you, Rob, for being a member. And you love me. How it's very sweet, Rob. Thank you very much. Yeah. So we led into this small little room. I'll show you a little clip of the room. But just before I do that, I'll explain what their project is. So I was one of 40 volunteers that they were looking for at Northampton. 20 that was being done by Chris Roe, 20 by one of his colleagues, and internationally amongst lots of universities I think in Sweden and America, Germany, I think in total they gave for 240 volunteers. And it is a study about precognition, the ability to foretell future events. That's what it was all about. I'll show you a little video clip. This is it shows me with the Ganzfeld goggles on and the headphones in. At this point, this hadn't properly started. At this point, I was listening to a woman give me instructions on headphones, basically telling me to relax. Once the goggles are on, all I can see is red light. I'm aware, that I was just trying to keep myself get myself in a relaxed state as possible. So there's a little video, and you can see the little room. You can see me. Here's me looking a little bit like Jabba the Hutt in a lovely leather sofa. And like I said, at this point, I'm just listening to instructions of this woman telling me to relax and chill out. And so that's got headphones on. And these goggles, I can't see anything through them, just pure red light shining on LEDs. And you can just see the room itself. It's very small, very dark, very black. That's the lap of Chris Roe with his notebook about to kind of record essentially everything I say during the Ganzfeld experiment. And he'll turn out the lights. I actually didn't realize the lights were out. That's there was no difference for me about what I could and couldn't see. Thank you, Mike, for putting on your best jumper. And at this point, that is when the Ganzfeld experiment started. I, being Mr. Skeptical Head, was open-minded. I'm thinking, well, okay, I'll give it a go. I didn't really know what to expect. I know that I'm just seeing red light and I'm just hearing static. This is not a spirit box. This is just a pure recording of static. Like white noise. That's all I can hear, and that's all I can see. And with that, in a nice relaxed state, I wasn't under hypnosis. Chris wasn't giving me any instructions. I wouldn't be able to hear them anyway. And I think it lasted for 35 minutes. And that was it. And so I kind of settled down, got myself nice and comfortable. And I thought, okay, just, when you can just see red, at first you're very conscious of it. You're very, very conscious of just seeing red and just hearing this. And you just think, well, this is not going to lead anywhere. This is not going to go anywhere. After about, I think, 5 minutes, I saw an image, like an outline of a spider. And at this point, I'm thinking, okay, I'm beginning to see things. Do I say this? If I said this to Chris, like when I reported this, is it going to break me out of this kind of weird, relaxed state that I was becoming in? And so I just said, I can see a spider. And as things were going on, I was quite surprised because I was seemingly getting more auditory things I could hear things. And my rational brain now is like, well, what the hell is that? Because I know I'm only listening to static. And honestly, the brain is creating mild hallucinations, visual and auditory hallucinations. So I started to hear odd noises. At first, it was like crowd noise, kind of muffled crowd noise. Then I heard a tannoy system. And there was, I'm not going to tell you all the full rundown of everything I heard and saw, but let's just say I was mainly auditory. A lot of people talking. I heard at one point a fun fair, like an old carousel rides. I could hear a person, like a woman, walking in high heel shoes down a path. And then as things were coming, visually, images were becoming in and out. Some of them were quite blurry. And then some of them were quite clear. Like I could see a bridge, I could see buildings, I could see faces. I saw a face of a clown, I saw a face of a skull, and then I saw a skeleton and things like that. And so things were becoming more and more distinct. And at this point, when you're in this kind of state, you feel it's kind of like being under the influence of a drug without any drugs involved. And that's as close as I could do. It's really interesting because you've got these red lights on your eyes. At one point, you feel as though if you opened your eyes, or he said to keep your eyes open, so I did. But then halfway through, you think, well, as you blink, you can't tell any difference whether you're blinking, eyes closed, or eyes open. So it's a really weird state you become, and you become in this other world almost, where you have all these hallucinations, you have all these images, you have very, very strange auditory things. At one point, I heard distinctly somebody talking. I could hear a radio playing, but not just a modern radio. I could hear a radio playing in 1920s, 1930s old-fashioned music. So there was a lot. There was a lot that was going on, and it lasted for about 35 minutes. Eyes wide shut. Yeah, no, my eyes were open, but it was weird because as very, very quickly, you don't even consider or think about the people in the same room as you. You don't think about anything else. You don't think, oh, I'm sitting in a chair. I'm going into this other, I hate saying realm, but you're hallucinating. So it feels that way. Really odd. And it was, and yes, this is absolutely sensory deprivation. Exactly what it was. And the longer it went in, the more I was getting into it. So this goes on for about 35 minutes, and as it goes on, I'm telling Professor Chris Roe everything I'm seeing, everything I'm hearing. He's making a note and he's writing it down. I'll tell you what he's doing with it afterwards. So then, after about half an hour, I think 35 minutes, the static starts to kind of get quieter and quieter and quieter and quieter and quieter until there's silence, but you're still in that hallucinogenic kind of state where you're still seeing images and you can still hear things, even though there's nothing on your headphones now. It's complete silence and the room is silent. You can't hear anything. And yet the images and the auditory stuff is still continuing. It's genuinely really, really fascinating. I did, there is I've got a video that Weird Fox took of me as I was coming out of it, and the volume is very, very low, which I apologize for. You can't really, it's quite tricky to hear me, but you'll just see this is the moment where it's just finishing, and you'll see me coming out of it, and you'll see actually it's like, oh my god, it's like I'm, I've been on a trip. Essentially, is what it feels like. There's a conversation. I don't know. I won't play too much of it because it's difficult to work out what's being said. So I'll be quiet and have a little look at. You can just see from my state how I'm feeling and how I'm looking.
Okay, I think that's the white noise finished. Give you a minute to come to yourself. I'll turn the light on a little bit.
Wow. That's really intense.
Was it? Fantastic.
Yeah. Oh, I've never experienced that before. That's a lot more intense than I was expecting it to be, right? To be honest.
It definitely varies a lot from person to person.
Yeah. Like I said, the longer it went on, the more, it's funny because I can feel my eyes becoming really heavy, and they become, and there's a point when almost where you don't know if your eyes are open or closed,
yeah,
and then you lose all sense of, like, are my eyes open? Am I closed? And so you go into this kind of, so your eyes are in this state where everything, like I say, everything becomes very, very relaxed, and you don't even think about it after a while. yeah, it doesn't. I mean, like, I seem to get not so much images, but auditory things.
Yeah, certainly at the beginning it was primarily auditory,
Yeah,
and maybe a little bit more visual as things went on for you.
yeah. Like I say, a few bits and pieces, and after like when you begin thinking, what am I? Because you see shapes and blobs, and my brain is still trying to work out what am I seeing.
Yeah.
So you see a lot of like indistinct shapes, and my head is trying to make sense of it, but I'm not saying anything out loud until I kind of it forms into something a bit more distinct.
Yeah, which is absolutely fine. That makes sense.
And but yeah, lots of I don't know where the funfair thing came in or why. It was like an old fashioned, like an old fashioned funfair. Not anything. Okay, I'll just stop there a second, and just go back to kind of like trying to kind of explain to you what. For me, I was just going for it and being like just saying, okay, well, I'll be open to this whole experience and just see what occurs. And there was, to be honest, there was a lot more going on than I was expecting. A lot more auditory stuff, a lot of more visual stuff than I was expecting. I thought I might get a bit, but I'm pretty skeptical with this kind of thing. I'm not in remotely psychic whatsoever. What I will just say is before the Ganzfeld happened, I had to fill in a couple of questionnaires. I had to fill in before I even went to Northampton, I had to fill in a 30 to 40 minute questionnaire all around how easily influenced I was in terms of the psychology of it. In terms of, do I think I've had an experience of psychokinesis? Do I feel I've had an experience of precognition? There's a whole manner of psychological questions which are really interesting in themselves, because you can kind of work out what they're looking for, what they're trying to get at. Before the experiment, I sat down in that lovely comfy leather chair, and I did another quick test of how aware of you, how you've been relaxed for 3 minutes, you just sat down nice and comfortable. What state are you in? Do you feel as though you're part of the universe, or do you feel as you're, within the room? Thinking yourself about your state of mind, essentially. After that finished, I did the same questions again with exactly the same, with completely different feelings of, holy shit, during that experience, I felt part of the universe. I felt I was seeing all of this. I lost all track of time. I lost track of where people were in the room. I had no concept of where people were in the room. And I couldn't work out whether I was under the Ganzfeld for 15 minutes or half an hour or an hour. And all of these things have such a weird impact. So because this is a test of precognition, he then gave me a laptop, and on that laptop were two videos. One was the target video, and had been, I think, chosen. The video had been chosen, I think, from a university in Sweden. Right? There were two movie clips, two film clips. One was not a target, and one was. I had to look at both clips, both were about 2 minutes long, and see if I could identify not that my brain was thinking about those movie clips, because I had no idea what I'd be shown, but whether I could pick out any features in either of the two clips which I saw while under the Ganzfeld. So, for instance, I was thinking, okay, so I heard a fun fair, I heard a carousel, I heard an old radio, I saw a bridge, I saw some buildings, I saw a woman walking in high heels. A number of different things was going on that I was hearing. And then there was the first clip, which was an old, I think it was something like Citizen Kane. So, it's an old movie, and it had quite strong imagery in it. And then the second clip was a Robert De Niro, Mickey Rourke movie, which I'd never actually seen. But again, there's images in that one. So I had to determine in the first clip, is there anything in that first clip that I visually could link to what I was seeing whilst under the Ganzfeld? So in the clip, there was a man. It was a black and white movie in an old town, and then somebody was shouting at him, and there was a cat in a doorway. And I think, well, I didn't see a cat, and I didn't see it in black and white, and it's Rosebud. Thank you very much. And there was certain elements that but then again, well, I did see a bridge, and I didn't see a man walking along a path, but I saw a person walking along a path. I saw the tops of a high rise of buildings. And in the background was obviously some music, and so the music was quite old fashioned. I thought, well, I can link that. The other movie, the Mickey Rourke, Robert De Niro movie, there was a meeting. Robert De Niro had a walking cane. There was a ceiling fan going on. There was the cleaner washing blood off a wall. And I was thinking, well, I didn't see any of that. There was again old-fashioned music, which I said, well, okay, there's some old-fashioned music in there. I didn't see two male kind of characters. So overall, in terms of the things which I could link into what I was visually seeing under the Ganzfeld, was the first video, and I had to give it a rating in terms of, based on what I was seeing, how much in terms of a percentage wise, how closely linked were my images to that particular clip. And I think, okay, well, there was quite a lot. I'd say that about 50%. At this point, I still didn't know which was the target video. The other one, I think I put around about 20%, maybe even 15%, because there was the music which I picked up on, but not much else. I didn't see Robert De Niro, didn't see Michael Rourke and Mickey Rourke, so I didn't see these and some of the imagery. I didn't see a cleaner cleaning blood off a wall. I didn't see a ceiling fan. I didn't see a room, that kind of stuff. And then like I said, I gave it a rating. He then told me that the target video was the De Niro and Mickey Rourke movie, not the one I thought I was picking up on. So it kind of shows that, yeah, maybe I can't foresee the future, because that's what it was. It was a whole thing about precognition. Can I foresee a future event that's going to occur, and what I was going to see? However, even though I may not be able to see the future in terms of, well, I don't think I saw the future. And there were some elements that I did not appear. I did not. I saw a skeleton. I saw a skull. I saw a clown. I saw a funfair. None of that appeared. However, the other weird thing is, even though they were the two videos I was able to see, the other universities also put in two. I think they're called two extra dummy videos, and I may have been picking up on one of those, which. I don't see at all. It's a really, really, really weird, fascinating experiment. I was left a bit shocked, to be honest, genuinely really quite shocked and surprised about what my brain was doing. And I think this leads us on to having a proper conversation, I think, around the power of the mind, because I was not... I was in a nice, relaxed state. I knew where I was. And the only things that I had was my eyes were open. I was fully awake. This was 10 a.m. This is not like I was tired. So fully alert, fully awake. All I am hearing is static, and all I'm seeing is red light. And yet my brain is creating probably 50 or 60 hallucinations. Auditory and visual hallucinations in that 35 minutes, probably more, which makes you wonder, which makes me wonder. And it might, when you do a paranormal investigation and people hear things and see things, I think we need to spend a lot more time, or give greater amount of time or thinking to, is it within me? Is it is it me that is creating this? Because I hear parapsychologists and psychologists talking about this all the time, to be honest. And I was like, well, yeah, no, well, maybe they've got a point. I don't know, right? But having experienced it, I cannot believe how much stuff my brain was creating. Just so much stuff. I think, wow. So, okay, sensory deprivation. Think about it. When you do a paranormal investigation, you're in the dark. There's your sense of vision gone straight away. All right, there's no red light. And if you're trying to listen out for sounds, particularly if you do, listen on a spirit box for too long. I hate spirit boxes, but if you're one of those that use spirit boxes and you are listening to white noise, it's really likely actually your brain after about 5 minutes will start to create stuff. That's, I would say, within being in that state, probably, I think I started to hear and see things within 3 or 4 minutes. It's hard to tell. About 3 or 4 minutes, I would say. So if you do something like, if you're going somewhere dark, you put headphones on, you listen to static, or you listen to a spirit box in the dark, there's a similar kind of situation. I won't say that the SS method is Ganzfeld, because it really isn't. But I think we need to think very much more about the power of the mind, because this it didn't freak me out, but it left me with more questions, really, and absolutely fascinating. So now that you've heard me kind of talking for 20 or half an hour on this subject, what do you think? First of all, would you do the Ganzfeld experiment? That's the first thing. Would you be open to doing that? Chris Roe is still looking for volunteers, I would just say. So if you are living in the UK and you are anywhere near Northampton, and you think, oh, this sounds like something I would actually love to have a go at doing myself, and just seeing what my brain can conjure and seeing what I can hear in that state, Professor Chris Roe is doing it. Now, he's doing a set number before Christmas, but like he said, they are always looking for volunteers in future for different studies and things like that. So I think, if you're interested, contact, like I say, Professor Chris Roe, University of Northampton. Fascinating parapsychologist, really, really interesting, and it definitely leaves you changed by the experience. I know that nothing. Oh, there we go. Thank you, Weird Fox, for putting the link up there. I know that I did not witness. There was nothing paranormal in that at all. It is purely the power of your mind. However, the one thing I will just say was, when I've spoken to Kenny Biddle about these things, they go, well, what's chance? If anybody didn't do this, what's a chance thing? So the chance would be 25%. So that's what Chris Roe said. Somebody able to guess things at random, and it's showing some kind of link to the films. 25% of all the volunteers coming out with things which seem relevant. Okay, and of all the things that's being said, by doing the Ganzfeld experiment, that goes up to 36%. So higher than chance that you are able to foresee possible future events, which is mad straight away, right? Then he was talking about geomagnetism. I think it was geomagnetism. When there's a lot of flux in the geomagnetics, or I think it was geomagnetism. I'm sure it was. Lou might put me straight. When there's high levels of geomagnetism and it's kind of fluctuating and going up and down, people don't do as well. It drops down to chance. Why this is, we don't know. But he says when it's flat, when it's kind of calm, the levels of the levels of people able to foresee the future under the Ganzfeld experiment goes up to 40%. He does not know why, right? Nobody can actually explain why, but it is absolutely fascinating. Really, genuinely fascinating. Why that is, don't know. Okay, so it is. I mean, like you say, it is. I'm glad I did it. It is. Like I say, I find it very, very interesting. Um, I mean, you can buy the Ganzfeld goggles. You can buy the equipment. I mean, if you professionally get the equipment, it's about 370 quid. It's not cheap, but you can buy it for meditation. And obviously you're not doing it for a purpose. You're not doing it for like a parapsychological kind of test or study, but it's used as a way to, as a calming thing, I suppose. But yeah, really, really, really odd. Okay, so what do we think? How much does our brain affect what we see and hear? I think after having done that, I think that your brain affects it a lot. So Wayne Dawson was saying, what's the purpose of the experiment? It was a precognition experiment, and with 240 volunteers from around the world, basically recalling the visions and the auditory stuff that they hear. And then afterwards, they then watch a video, and then they see how many of the things which they picked up in the Ganzfeld experiment can be directly linked to the videos that they will see in the future. And that's what it's all around. And obviously, these are then looked at and peer reviewed by third parties and things. It's not just Chris Roe saying, "Yeah, I think he's psychic," or "I don't think he is." Obviously, this is looked at by academics from around the world, and they look at all my responses. They look at the responses of all the participants, and they can either dismiss them or they think it might have relevance. But it's cool to be part of that. Basically, it's cool to be part of a proper parapsychological experiment done in the right way, with the right ethics, with the right questionnaires, and they've it's just cool to be part of it. Basically, in the 1990s, we call them dream machines, had them at raves. I mean, to be honest, admit, I mean, it's like I said at the start. Doing the Ganzfeld is a bit like taking a hallucinogenic drug without the drugs. I mean, all right, it's weird. You don't get the colors because you're just seeing pure red, but you get the shapes and you get the auditory stuff going on. That's the weird thing. I did see color. I did see flashes of blue at one point. No idea why. I don't know whether that was my eyes. I don't know whether that was my brain trying to fill in gaps that I couldn't. I didn't have. I don't know. But bearing in mind, I could only see red. It surprised me that I saw just flashes of blue amongst there. So it's kind of a bit trippy. But yeah, it is fascinating. Okay, what we see out there in real life is an illusion anyway. It is the programmed mind's interpretation, joining the dots in interpolating the senses. Yeah, absolutely, Dealey boy. And there's a part of that in the questionnaire about how much do we think that reality is an illusion? So the psychologists are kind of that forms part of their questionnaire as well. I agree, our brain is fantastic and gets us to imagine all sorts. Yeah, and I think that's why, with the ghost hunting thing, we need to be so careful, so careful. I mean, we need backup basically, because traditionally people have always said, "Oh, that the best equipment is your eyes and your ears," and it's not. It's really not. Your brain, your eyes, your ears are so fallible, and so no, it's not. I would say the best equipment is still a notebook, not a torch, whatever. But it is absolutely not your ears and your eyes, because my God, they can be fooled. And like I say, I was hallucinating, no drugs involved, and it was mad. Having done it once, would I do it again? Yeah, I would. I absolutely would. If only not to understand it particularly, because I don't think I can. You can't just rationalize it and think, "Oh, okay, well that was weird," but I would absolutely do it again, because it's not physically. There's nothing physically different. But it's for me, it's just like, wow, it's like, bloody hell, I had no idea my brain could conjure this stuff up just from seeing red lights and static. It's mad. It's absolutely mad. Thanks, Serg. It'd be interesting to compare people on their belief system. Yeah, absolutely. Preempting, yeah. I don't have to be psychic to work that one out. Absolutely. Yeah, the power of the mind is often underestimated, particularly in the paranormal field. Ouija board comes immediately. Yeah, absolutely. And to be honest, I mean, it's that kind of thing where people are so susceptible and so easily led by noise, sound. How many times have you heard, somebody hear a creak and the people freak out because their people's imagination can get the better of them sometimes, and it's not a creaky floorboard, it's somebody walking along the landing, so it's mad. Geomagnetism highest near the North and South Pole. Maybe you need to go there and try. It does. I mean, that was the fascinating is that when, like I said, like he was saying, that when geomagnetism is kind of flat and stable, the experiences of people able to or seemingly able to have better results of precognition and foretelling the future. 40%. Like I say, when chance is 25. That's mad, and I don't know why. Why would that be? Is it I don't know. You can try some. I mean, the parapsychologists don't know, so I've got no chance. You said it sounds and feels like you're on drugs. How do you know what it's like to be on drugs? I don't know, fairy godmother. It's one of those godfathers. Sorry, it's yeah. I don't know. I'm saying nothing more. But anyway, moving on. Greg and I did it side by side, both in goggles with red light and headphones with white noise. Greg was seeing all sorts and got freaked out. I had nothing at all. Yeah, I mean, initially I had nothing for a few minutes, but I think because I was in a nice, safe environment, and I knew where I was, and I just let it go. I just thought, well, I'll just go with it. I'll just go with it, and I'll just say whatever I see and hear. I was a lot more than I was expecting. Like I said, loads more than I was expecting. Yeah, but really, really interesting. Like I say, if you are a skeptic, if you are remotely interested in the paranormal and how our brain works, I think you should do this. Look up, a local university or a parapsychology unit or something, and just see. Or, I mean, you can make it out with, cut a couple of ping pong balls and shine a red light in your face and listen to some white noise. Do it for half an hour and nice, comfortable on a bed, on a sofa, nice and chill and relaxed, and you'll get the same hallucinations that I was getting. It's fascinating. If nothing else, it's really, really interesting. Okay. What's that? A notebook is just bad as you are using your eyes, ears, and mind to write things up. Just ask the police after it. Well, that's true. That is true. I suppose it depends how good you are at note taking and make, because it's only as good as the person making the notes in it. Absolutely. What's it? My girlfriend heard a guy say, I'm hurt. What's that? Ear? Years ago when she was washing the dishes. How do you explain that weird stuff? She felt the breath. That's what? I'm her ear? Bloody hell, what? Do you think that some people could actually panic due to deprivation of senses? Yeah, I do. Yeah. I think the good thing about this is, and this is what Cal Cooper was saying. This is why he has a hatred for the S-test method. Because people call it the S-test method. He says it's not the S-test, it's a Ganzfeld, but it's been bastardized and used and for the wrong purposes. And there's no, Ganzfeld has been done properly by psychologists. You're being observed by a psychologist. You're put through a process where you've got to ask psychological questions to see if you can actually do it in the first place. It's not just people pissing about in a haunted location, So if you do it, I mean, I think if you do it at home, I think it's less freaking. I think it can actually be kind of, what's going on. It can be quite relaxing. I would say if you try and do this in a haunted location, what you're doing, you're in somewhere that's meant to be haunted. You think there might be something out there. And then what are you doing? You're covering your ears so you can't hear it. And you're covering your eyes so you can't see it. Even if a ghost walked up to you, you wouldn't hear them. And that will play in your mind straight away. So that itself could freak you out, I think. So yeah, do it in the right way, in the right, nice, relaxed setting, and I think you're less likely to have that. But it's weird. It's just interesting. So that's why humans developed equipment to measure things accurately rather than relying on our senses. Yeah, the Earth would be considered flat if we had to rely on our senses. Yeah, absolutely, JT. Yes, spot on. But yeah, that's why I get annoyed when people go, "Oh yeah, you best bit of equipment is your eyes and your ears." Absolute horseshit. Sorry, it's not. I believe writing things down, but in the moment you write quickly and briefly, and then you still have to interpret it later. Yeah, absolutely, Sarah, absolutely. What's this one? Hey, Scottish, I was washing up and heard my dead bestie speaking French verbs in my ear. It's when we are busy, they try to shock us. I laughed loudly and enjoyed it. I mean, that's the thing is, I was hearing things, like during the Ganzfeld, and I was just generally like, where does that come from? Like for instance, I was hearing this 1920s radio. Which part of my brain is conjuring a 1920s radio from just listening to static? And I was hearing a carousel of a fairground. What part of my brain is creating that? Why is it creating that? And you can kind of start thinking, why? What the hell? But it is very weird. That geomagnetism result seems a bit counter to some of the explanations for paranormal experiences where they measure these things. Yeah, they don't know why, but it's just one of those things he was mentioning to me. What's that, junkie? I mean, Justin doesn't do exactly. I'm as white as the driven snow. If you want to keep talking, I do not. Just say no, kids. Just say no. Did Saigai guy win the wrestling? Interesting. It's what's that? Two or more have the same experience. It becomes really spooky. Absolutely. Let's have a look on here. I would advise very strongly against just giving this a go on your own. Results may not be particularly pleasant and could cause unwanted effects. Yeah, I think obviously you can't control what goes on in your brain. And like I said, I was, it sounds dramatic, but I was under supervision when I was doing it. And this is another thing that Cal said is, people doing the SDS with no kind of thought, I suppose, around the psychological impact that it could have or what you could experience, and it could freak you out. And there may be long-term effects from it. I mean, the thing is, I knew what I was doing. I knew what I was going in for, and there's a psychologist with me all the way through. So if I had a sudden incident where I had to take them off and it was freaking me out, they'd be able to talk me through it, and it would be a lot better, So yeah, I absolutely get that point, Nigel. Absolutely get that. But the other thing is obviously the whole Ganzfeld goggles and exactly the same equipment as I was using. You buy them on eBay, on Amazon. And it's not just confined to universities and things. So, anybody could do it. So, but you're absolutely right. Think carefully before you do it, because you may have visions, you may have auditory stuff, which freaks you out, and you'll have no backup if you know. And it's something you got to bear in mind. I'm seriously going to repeat the Ganzfeld on a regular basis with the same people, log it all over a period of time. Be interesting. I mean, it was very, very interesting. It was genuinely very, very interesting. I'd do it again, but I wouldn't. I don't think I would do it again. Would I do it again on my own? I don't know. I'd have to really think about it. It's like, yes, not to go on about my coma, but I learned the brain is a magical muscle, and I experienced lots of similar things, visuals and intense sounds. Yeah, it's mad. And this is me as a skeptic going, my rational brain's going, oh, I know I'm listening to nothing, and I'm looking at a red light. So what is going on? Obviously, your brain loses all concept of reality under those situations. It can't rely on your hearing. It can't rely on your vision. So it's then trying to create a scenario for you, and it's using what it can. It's firing all kind of various things into your brain to try and make sense of what's going on, which is where all these hallucinations comes from. It's Yeah, very mad. If we want to settle our minds, we can do a repetitive task. Are you washing up? It could put us into a meditative state. Hence, we hear and say, yeah, that was one of the things actually in the questionnaire. It's, do you lose all track of time when doing the washing up? Do you lose all track of time when you're having a bath and you're staring at the colors of bubbles? Do you lose track? Do you ever go into a room and forget why you're there? And there's lots and lots and lots of psychological questions around that and how susceptible you are to kind of losing track of time or zoning out, basically. So 1920s music, could that just have been a memory from when you were a kid? No. Although my dad did have a gramophone, which makes me sound like, but it's one of those things that he used to kind of, he liked, and I like listen to it. So maybe it was a memory from childhood. Who knows? Were you planning on having a neurologist on the pod? Wonder what they'd make of it. A while back, I was trying to get hold of, and I still might like to try and get hold of him. There is a neurologist or from Belgium, one of the leading world's experts in neuroscience. And he's done documentaries, and I was going to try and get him on to talk about near-death experiences and what goes on in your brain at the moments before death. All the chemical stuff that's going on and why people can see all different explanations for what people experience during the near-death experiences. And it was tricky because of the time factors, and he can only do it during the day, and he can only do it whilst he was at hospital, so it was having issues with that. Kaza, oh, thank you so much, Kaza, for the 20 Australia for the mod kitty. Lou was asking me about the mod kitty. I am going to have to be working out how much I owe the mods. I genuinely do. So thank you so much. They will get about a quid out of it. I've got to do it properly. Recent studies on psychedelics show that they do the opposite of creating hallucinations. They actually quieten the noise in the brain and switch off the hallucinations. That's really interesting. I did not know that. That's fascinating. So I hate the spirit box for that very reason. It messes with your head. I hate the sound too. Yeah, me too. I can't stand. I mean, I used to have an SB7 spirit box, and I've used an SB11 before. I hate them with a passion. Hate them. I gave my SB7 away. Would never use it. They just give me a migraine. They're awful. Should be that dangerous. I sleep with a blackout mask on that has a Bluetooth and listen to white noise. Sleep like a baby. Okay. I think you got to be wary about what your brain could actually do. Justin, has Carol ever told you a story from East Drive that you believe? No. No. The thing is with Carol, she can tell a good story. And it is what she said. I'm not going to talk about East Drive, but what she says is very different from what I've experienced at East Drive. She'll talk about mad stuff, and she'll talk about a well in the living room, and she'll talk about this and that and the other. And I don't really believe much of it. That's interesting. The podcast of your home growing up. I mean, I did have to, obviously, on the questionnaire before I did this, I did say that I had poltergeist activity in my home as a child, and that I had experienced psychokinesis, and not that I could do it, but I'd witnessed it. And that all fed as part of the questionnaire, I suppose. But I don't know whether what I was hearing was specifically linked to that. But the only thing that I do get that's linked to that, even now, 40 odd years later, is I still get dreams. I still get the same dream where I'm in my bedroom as a 7-8-year-old, and the poltergeist is in there, and I feel lifted, and I feel that this feeling of fear, and that's a repetitive dream that I still have, which is weird. Okay. Yeah, when external stimuli is removed, the brain replaces it with something else, and that's exactly what it was. It's exactly what was going on with the hallucinations. I'm really happy actually that I've gone through it, so I can not just talk about it, but that I've experienced it. It's very, very interesting. The brain creates the world we know based on senses anyway. This is the real simulator of our existence. Absolutely. Yeah. You remove those and again, it will do what it can to try and make sense of what it can hear and see, what's going on. Yeah, going into a room, forgetting why you're there. Yeah. Yeah. Get that. Oh, thank you so much for the $3 US. But Shiba dog raising an arm to greet someone, asking how's it going. What's that one? So I have a brain that, there we go. I have a brain that literally doesn't stop thinking. White noise distracts it long enough to let me sleep. I mean, things like that do help me to fall asleep. I don't listen to white noise, but I have to listen a lot to music to make me kind of settle. Did it feel like you were hallucinating? Yeah, absolutely. And initially I was just like, oh, this is kind of a bit weird. Where I could see shapes and things forming, and I was trying to make sense of the blobs. And sometimes it did, and sometimes it didn't. Sometimes they were just shapes, and sometimes they formed like they were forming into a face, or they formed into a wine glass, or they formed into a bridge, or they formed into a building. And as time went on, after about 10, 15 minutes, I was absolutely I was in a different realm as such, if that sounds a bit hippie, but that's how it felt. And I was just going with the flow then. I was just yes, I was hallucinating. Yes, I was seeing things. Yes, I was hearing things. And but I knew I was in a safe environment. I was in a safe place, and therefore I didn't feel fear about it. I was just going with the flow. The old funfair vision, maybe a past life progression. I don't know. I genuinely don't know where the hell that funfair thing came from. No idea. It's just one of those weird things. But I've no idea. And the carousel and the funfair, the fact that I saw a clown's face and I heard the funfair, and I kind of thought and I could hear crowds of people as well, not just the kind of the old fashioned funfair music. That I could hear kind of crowds of people at a funfair, and I could hear a tannoy system. All of that was going on. What does that say about me? I don't know. There seems to have a link to hypnosis where repetitive activity can cause the subject to enter an altered state. Yeah, and that's, I think, exactly what it was. It's a form of hypnosis. And like hypnosis, I was still aware of where I was, and I could still tell the professor what I was seeing and hearing, but I was still within that state. It didn't snap me out of it, which I thought it might do. One of the worst brain activities is intrusive thoughts, especially violent ones that go completely against one's nature. Yeah, that'd just be freaky. Were you aware of your body more than normal, such as an ache in your legs, an example? No, the exact opposite, actually. Initially, I was aware of my body and sitting in the chair and gripping the sides, and I knew where I was, and I was very much aware of my own body. As time went on, everything just disappeared. I wasn't aware of my body at all, and I was just going with the images, the visuals, and the hallucinations and stuff. But no, I wasn't aware of my legs hurting or an ache or anything like that. It was a crazy experience. Bloody hell, Kaza! Oh my god, mate, Kaza. Jesus Christ! Thank you, bloody hell! Thank you so much, Kaza. 50 gifting memberships. That's massive. Oh my gosh, you're so supportive. Like I say, just if you got any of those 50, which is huge, please say a massive thank you to Kaza. Incredible, such a massive support to so many people, so many channels. Kaza, you are an absolute legend. Thank you so much. Look, there's a sea of green. Thank you so much. Bloody hell! Right. All these people say, yeah, lots of love for Kaza. Make sure she's got lots of love. What's that? Oh, I can't even say that name, Gayla. Psilocybin mushrooms are slowly being accepted for treatment of PTSD and anxiety issues. Oh, that's cool. Very interesting. Am I tempted to start an investigation? I am tempted, but the conditions would be completely different. you know, and I'm very, very wary. And I think anybody would need to be wary of this. If you're going into this kind of zone, like I said this before, if you're in a nice, homely, relaxed environment, I think you're more likely to kind of have it as a kind of more enjoyable experience. If you do this in a haunted location or expect it to be haunted, and you're kind of thinking that, and then you're closing your sight and your sound, are you more likely to be stressed in that kind of situation? I think you would be. And because you're stressed, I wonder whether it would have a completely opposite effect. Yeah. I that's the only reason why I think I would not do it on an investigation, because I think it's to do with stress, and I think it's to do with anxiety, and I think it's to do with the effect that it would have. Okay. This Friday house, I've tuned this, so I prefer brown noise with 7 hertz binaural beats. I've started to get into binaural beats when I'm trying to get to sleep. It's so good. It's so good. Yeah, I weirdly, and people know this. I weirdly listen to Norse kind of tribalistic stuff, because the chanting, the drum beat and stuff sends me off. I don't know why, but it just does. So let's say recurring nightmares about my only phobia. Cats. What's that phobia? I don't know what that one's. What's catsauridophobia? I don't know what that one is. But whatever it is, yeah, repetitive recurring nightmares are not great. But yeah. What's that one? I see a burning ring with a black hole in the middle when I meditate or do breath work. Oh, that's cool. I have repetitive dreams when I'm struggling to make a decision or going through stress. About after 3 or 4 repeats, I usually feel better and make a decision. That's interesting that you're going to get that when you're in stress mode. Yeah. Past life regression is really interesting. Funnily enough, the person I'm speaking to on Monday, Kate Ray, has just done a past life regression with Paul Goddard. And so I'll be asking her about that. That's for Supernatural UK, a future episode that she's doing. But yeah, I'm probably more likely now I've done the Ganzfeld, I actually would feel happier doing a past life regression. Because before I'd be like, oh my God, what if I come out with some, I don't know what's in my brain and I don't know what kind of nonsense I'm going to spurt out. But having done the Ganzfeld, where you're in control, and I think past life regression is very, very similar to that. So I probably would actually. I might have a sneaky chat with a chap called Paul Goddard, who's a past life regression therapist. So yeah, maybe I would. Having now tried the Ganzfeld, do you believe it has a place on a paranormal investigation? No, I don't actually. Because Ganzfeld is really interesting for seeing how your brain creates hallucinations, and it creates auditory noise. You don't want that on a paranormal investigation. You want it to be like a genuine event, don't you? So if you're going to do a Ganzfeld on investigation where it's your brain that's creating the phenomena, why would you do it on an investigation? Because you know where it's coming from. It's not from a ghost. So no, I wouldn't do it on an investigation for that reason. Is it possible things you've seen were created out of your subconscious? Yeah, absolutely, quite possible. I think, as to why, I don't know. It was a weird experience of why I was seeing certain things, but yeah. Any exciting guests? Well, I'll tell you a couple. So if you've not seen I did a promo video recently. So next Monday's Kate Ray. So if you remember, she was the person who talked about gnomes and fairies, and she's into that kind of thing. It's kind of interesting, kind of kooky, kind of weird. So that's what I've got on Monday. I don't know. We'll probably go down the fairy and the fae route, quite possibly. The week after, if anybody's seen Netflix and they have seen a series called True Haunting, in the True Haunting is made up of 2 main stories, 3 episodes each. The first set. This first story is about a guy called Chris, who, as a student, it was kind of haunted by something at a place called Erie Hall, which is a good name for a hall of residence as a student. So, yeah, he is on. I've got him from America coming in on the following week. And the week after that, I have Derek Akora's widow, Gwen Akora, is coming on, and we're going to be talking all about Derek Akora. It's going to be a bit of a tricky one, obviously, because we're going to kind of have a kind of like interesting conversation around him, how he was, how he was as a husband, how he was as a psychic, oh, hello, shut up. All the allegations against him, the fakery allegations, all of that kind of stuff. We're going to try and do that after, and that's it until Christmas. Then after Christmas, I've got some more wonderful people on, including getting Chris French back on, Professor Chris French, and amongst other people. So yeah, there's so many more people. So, but we've got all of December's done, all of January's done. I'm now booking in people for February. Okay, that's enough of that. Let's have a look. Do you think they had planted sounds within the experiment to see if you was telling the truth? No. And I wouldn't even be able to hear the sounds anyway, because it's in a silent room. And not only was Chris Roe in that room, I was with Weird Fox in the room, and they were both in absolute silence. And all the way through, actually, Weird Fox was videoing all of it, and it was all silence except for my responses. So yeah, there was no other noises at all. What are your thoughts on the Gateway tapes, and have or would you try them? To be honest, I don't know much about it, Friday House. And I might need to look into it a bit more, but I know I don't know much about the Gateway tapes. I'll have to kind of look into it. I know, are those the ones about, now then, Chris was talking about the psychic tapes. Is that the same kind of thing about autistic children? Is that the same thing, or is that different? But I'll have to look into that one. But I've not heard of that. I don't think. I could have done. Okay, let's have a look. Roger's back time. That's the only time I don't get a membership. Yeah, fair enough. Okay, going to finish very, very soon, guys. Is or was sensory deprivation being used as a method of torture? I suppose the difference is, there's a time limit on this. It didn't feel like a way of torture, to be honest. It seemed genuinely really quite nice and relaxed and chilled. But no, it didn't seem like, oh my God, I'm being tortured. It was quite a nice experience overall. Let's quickly go down. What's that? Move along. Nothing to see here. Kaza, you've got lots of love for you, Kaza. So yeah, quite, I don't care if you're blushing. Quite right, Kaza. She's, yeah. Yeah, with ability to brain cells and electrical activity, who knows what can pop up? Yeah, exactly. You got no idea. I had no idea what was going to come into my brain. It was mad. Absolutely mad. I enjoyed it. I loved it, but I had no idea what was going to be coming into it. I'm quickly going through a bit more of the chat. There we go. Oh, what's this one from Ali? So saying frequencies like 432 hertz, 528 hertz, 963 hertz are often cited for their association with specific outcomes like stress reduction, focus, or spiritual connection. Yeah, I've seen a few things like this, even on like Spotify, where they are specifically focusing people on those types of that type of music for that purpose. And yeah, it was interesting. I should try something like that when it does go bad. What sound frequency was it? Oh, it's okay. That's going to go. Okay, I think. Hang on a minute. I did a past. Oh, hang on. I did a past life regression in my late 20s. It was fascinating. I mean, like I said, I've had that Paul Goddard chap on the podcast before, and I was like, well, yeah, sounds really interesting, but I don't know. I was a bit like, oh, I don't know if I'd really want to go down, because there are people going, oh yeah, you should video it in real time and have it live streamed on the podcast. And I didn't really trust my brain to come out with nonsense. And I was like, my God, once if I come out with some really weird, dark stuff, which is like, But I think the Ganzfeld thing has made me realize that I am still in control of what I say. So yeah, maybe I should in the future. I'd like to. Okay. Was it the unnatural fear of cockroaches? I'd be less scared of a rattlesnake in my pun. Interesting. You'd love this one then. When I lived out in India, I would sometimes wake up covered in cockroaches. Yeah, because particularly if I was sleeping on a train carriage through India, and they were pretty filthy things, then I would fall asleep on my rucksack and wake up with cockroaches all over me. So there you go. Lovely. Yeah, I don't like cockroaches either, I've got to say. It's not an unnatural fear. It's just a black, hate them. Let's have a look. I'm just going to go down. Chris, yeah, why are people always Henry VIII or Napoleon in their past life? I don't know. I find it really funny. I find it really funny that there are so many Napoleons and so many members of royalty, when in actual fact, the likelihood is you're just going to be some kind of servant or somebody, cleaning up pig shit out from a farm. That's the reality. If you was coming back from the medieval times, most people would have no money whatsoever and have a pretty terrible life. Skeptical about past life regression. Nobody ever seems to be a boring person. They're always exciting to have. Same thing. Absolutely. Yeah, I get it. I get it. I mean, if I went down that route, I would want Paul to try and get out from me specific details that I couldn't possibly know. That's what I would like to do. Yeah, like I said, Chris French is, like I said, coming on after Christmas, which would be really cool. Okay, I'm gonna, like I said, gonna wrap it up. Last few little comments, just Tim with the merch. Yeah, Kaz. Yeah, I've not even said this to anybody watching from America. If you are disrupting your Thanksgiving dinner to watch me talk about being in the dark with some red goggles on, I humbly appreciate it, because you are missing your Thanksgiving for the likes of this. So I do appreciate it. Yeah, happy Thanksgiving, everybody in America. I hope you have a great time with your family and eat lots and have fun. Okay. Right, I think we're all good. If there's any last little things, hang on, what's this one? Sage rat, electrical activity in the brain is affected by magnetic field. Is interesting. The effects. Is it the brain trying to make sense of it, or is it something else? Yeah, that's actually a really good comment, because I had no idea. YouTube have load of frequency tones for such exercises such as meditation, as well as the law of attraction practices. Oh, that's cool. Let's go. So I don't want to kind of miss anything. Hang on, what's this? Heard about 8D music. It's music for people with ADHD, constantly changing the mix. I've never heard of that. And like I said, I teach kids with ADHD, but I've not heard of that. That's really interesting as well. We all know you're really weird anyway, so it won't be a surprise. Cheers, Dragon Ranger. Thanks very much. I appreciate it in a nice kind of way. Thank you. Okay, I think we're done. Phew. Right. Everybody, thank you for kind of putting up with me and talking about my experiences. Like I said, I hope you found it interesting. I found the whole thing really interesting. Thank you. Like I say, thank you so much. Thank you for your comments. Spange, thank you so much for the £5 super chat. Thank you so much, Spange. Bless you. Really appreciate that, Spange. Thank you. Yeah, Alexa, I hope you found it interesting. Maybe it might make some of you do a Ganzfeld, do it legitimately. There are in the UK, there are not many parapsychology departments. There's a few, but not many. If you are interested, I do recommend contacting the University of Northampton, Professor Chris Roe. The links have been in the chat, because he does still do the Ganzfeld experiment for volunteers who go to Northampton. He'll give you a little tour around. He'll explain. He was a lovely guy. I think we was talking to him for about an hour, 2 hours before we even did the Ganzfeld. Again, lovely fella. So yeah, thoroughly recommend it. Let's say Kate Ray in on Monday. Yeah, I think we're done. All right. So enjoy the rest of your weekend. And I'll say I shall see you on Monday again. Thank you for all your questions and all your comments, and for the donations, the super chats, and the memberships. I really, genuinely, really appreciate it. Thank you, guys. Until Monday, I shall see you then. All right. Good night.